This is the first universal Hindu temple in the Western world and is an iconic architectural landmark here in San Francisco. It was founded in 1900 by Swami Vedananda, a disciple of the Indian sage Sri Ramakrishna. The architecture on the roof of the temple symbolized the belief in Vedanta that the truth is one. As one Swami put it, the temple may be considered a combination of a Hindu temple, a Christian church, a Mohammedan mosque, a Hindu monastery, and an American residence. Swami Vedananda is the minister here and of the Vedanta Society in Northern California. Advaita Vedanta is a monistic philosophy that predates both Christianity and Buddhism. It holds that the ultimate reality is to be found by yourself, in yourself, as yourself. Today, Swami Vedananda, senior monk at the Society, will speak on the search for happiness.
Om Bhadram Karnevi Shrunuyama Devaha Bhadram Pashyema Kshabhiryajatraha Sthirairanga Estushtvagam Sastanuvi Yashema Deva Hitayadayu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May we hear with our ears what is auspicious. May we see with our eyes what is auspicious. May we enjoy with strong limbs and bodies the life allotted to us. Om, peace, peace. Peace be unto us all. The search for happiness. That is the prime activity in our life, starting from the very beginning, starting from essentially from birth. We don't remember that far, but our parents can vouch for that. The search for happiness is the main drive, really, in our existence. And we have many means for, or we discover different means for trying to obtain that happiness. So the question is, can that goal ever be reached, or is it something that we simply search after from the day we're born until we pass off into that good night, as it has been called? And we simply search, but we never find. And in one sense it is true, we search and we never find. Because we really never find anything that's absolutely satisfactory. Things are partly all right and partly not all right. Things always could be bettered. There's always room for improvement. Is there a possibility of attaining something beyond which, or in which the idea of beyond simply does not occur, that this is it, we have reached the goal? So for discussions of this type, we always turn to the oldest of our scriptures and those others that support it. The scriptures are the records of people who have experienced what they're describing. And they have this characteristic that they are not just descriptions. This I have done and it was wonderful and I'm so happy. and now you have to try to find your own way. I found my path, you find yours. They are not described in that way. They are described as paths along which we can follow. It's not something that has been achieved by one person at one time, and now the rest of us will be trying to reach this but never actually succeeding. That is not the way we look at the scriptures. These are paths like someone has traveled along that path and has dropped little hints along the way so that others can also follow. And the ultimate statement that is made after we distill the essence of all these scriptures, of all the records of the people who have attained these things. And the ultimate result is something that is very difficult to accept because we don't know how to approach it. The ultimate statement is, this is already whatever you want, whatever you really need, whatever you expect, whatever you desire, is already available. You already have it. Every one of us has it deep within ourselves. Then the answer will be yes, it's deep within ourselves. It's so deep that we can't reach it. And that's how it appears. But again, the people with experiences tell us, no, that's not the case. It's not deep at all. It's an open secret. If you really want to hide something from someone, you leave it in plain sight. And most likely, it'll never be found. You leave it somewhere in plain sight, whatever it is that you want to keep hidden. And it's quite likely that it'll never be found. It'll be more secure there than if you put it into, hide it within something, and that within something else that is locked. So what is it that is hidden, but yet is available in what is instantly available, instantly perceptible? And of course the scriptures say it in various ways. But the four main, the Mahavakyas, basically this is what they say, and this is supposed to be the essential teaching of all the Vedas. Tattvamasi, you are that, is one of them. You are that, and of course the answer is, well, okay, I'm that, but what is it that I am? I do not know. Aham Brahmasmi, I am that reality, I am that Brahman, that all-pervading reality. So we repeat those things, but the very significance of it is so hard to grasp. So we try various things. Meditation is one of the ways we do it, or try to do it. And the purpose of meditation is what? That the wave of the mind has to be quieted. Chitta vritti nirodha, the cessation, the calming of the chitta vritti, the vrittis, all the factors in our mind should be calmed. And what happens when they're calmed? They're no longer perceptible, and what was hidden by these waves becomes seen, and then we see, ah yes, But then you say, okay, so it was hidden. It was hidden. It wasn't obvious. You're saying it's obvious. It's not obvious. You have to, it's like you look at a lake and you don't see the bottom. You have to quieten the wind entirely. And when the wind becomes extremely quiet, then if the water is very pure, which is another condition, you can look down and you can see everything on the bottom, which was hidden from you as long as the wind was blowing. So you say all these conditions are there, so what do you mean that it's intuitively obvious? It should be immediately available. Yes, yes, this is how, these are the obstacles. But the reality is that if we want to really attain that, it is, all we have to do is open our eyes and see it. In fact, okay, you're putting another condition, the eyes have to be opened. No, even with eyes closed or in any condition, under any circumstances, whether you're ready for it or not, whether you have done this decades of austerities, whether you have, achieved intense renunciation, intense devotion, intense concentration, whatever you manage to achieve or not achieve, this is immediate. It is still there, that reality is still there, that search for happiness, that total fulfillment is immediately there. So you don't have to do anything. Yes, you have to do something. One thing you have to do, that is, you have to want it. You have to yearn for it. Sri Ramakrishna made that one of his major conditions. You have to deeply yearn to realize this. We should ask ourselves, what is our real goal? What is the thing that we really internally, within ourselves, as our deepest, at our deepest level, what is it that we really want? That total satisfaction. Then the prescription is, it is already there. You have to simply, absolutely feel that it is already there. Tattvamasi, you are that, Aham Brahmasmi, all these things, if that were not already fully true, if we had to do anything to realize that, that means we're really not fully that. So, in a practical way, what is it that we should do to attain this, which is supposed to be immediately available, the Brahman that is immediate and direct? To feel that it is already existing. In other words, where is that God? Where is that divinity? We should see that everywhere. That is the prescription that these teachers give us. So, but it's so difficult to actually perceive that. We try it, we may try it, we follow their suggestions, we try it, and we can't manage to reach it. But the thing is, if it is really true, there should be some indication of it. There should be something left somewhere of that. There is in this physical world, there is an example which is, gives an idea of the sort of thing that is required. This is now switching into an entirely different field of cosmology. how did this universe begin? So there was a theory that this universe started because they find, if you look at the universe, everything is moving away from everything else. The stars are all moving away from each other. It looks like the surface of a balloon. When you blow up the balloon, all the dots on the surface of the balloon separate from each other. And this seems to be what the universe is doing. So there were these so-called wild themes as to how the universe was made, and what it is that we find ourselves looking at. But then someone became very thoughtful and said, there must be something still around here now, that if the universe started in a huge explosion, and it just expanded vastly, there must be some remnant of that, must still be there, left here somewhere. So some very clever person came up with the idea that if this universe originally started in a Big Bang, and they have some idea of what the temperature of that would have been if the whole universe, visible universe, had been concentrated in one tiny tight spot, there would have been some huge temperature. And then it exploded and is still exploding. So there should be some remnant of that initial temperature, that initial extremely high temperature when the universe was just a tiny ball. Now it's a huge cosmos, but there must be some track still left somewhere. And the condition was that radiation, whichever it was, whatever it was, should be isotropic. It should be in all directions you would find this. So people started looking in all directions in the sky and see if there was any background that was common to every observation. It looked like a wild dream, but actually they found it. They found a universal background radiation appearing in all directions in the sky, caused by nothing that they could point to. And they identified that as the temperature that is still left from that original, when the whole universe was congregated in the tiny spot and then exploded and kept on increasing as it still is doing. And what is left as evidence that this is the correct scenario is there is that universal background radiation, which is now like 3 degrees above absolute zero or something like that. Anyway, they looked around and they found something that was indicative of this. Now, how does this relate to us? If God is the reality that pervades the whole universe, if the essence of everything is not molecules and energies and all the physical things, if the essence of every perception is really Brahman, as it says in the Upanishad, in every pratibodha viditam in the Kena Upanishad, it is perceived in every item of knowledge, every perception is really at its heart a perception of God, of the infinite. So in the same sense, we should be able to look at each perception, think about what we're perceiving, what we're experiencing, and we should be able to find that evidence of that reality. We should be able to find evidence of God in every perception. Just like wherever you look in this universe, wherever you point your telescope, there is a background radiation in addition to whatever else you observe, which indicates the original condition, which is a remnant of that original condition. Where is that within ourselves? Where is the remnant of our original state, our original reality, our original center? And the answer has to be, it's everywhere. In every perception, I should be able to see God. That is the challenge, pratibodha viditam. In every perception, I should be able to see an evidence that there is that fundamental reality that is at the heart of that perception. So this is the challenge, and we say that every day. Most of us, not everybody has that custom, but we have the custom that every day, at every meal, first we chant chapter 24, verse 4 of the Bhagavad Gita, Brahmarpanam Brahmahaviya Brahmagdal Brahmanahutam. So Brahman is the Arpana, the instrument, Brahmanahavi, the whatever I pour, it's the image of a sacrificial fire in which I offer things to God in the fire. God has manifested in that reality, in that fire, I offer all these various things. So in that sense, God manifested, Sri Krishna says in chapter 15, I'm the digestive fire. So taking that, we say, as we offer food in that digestive fire, we use that symbolism, that the instrument of offering and the whatever it is that is offered, all that is Brahman. And also the being to whom it is offered that is Brahman. The being who is doing the offering is Brahman. So all aspects of this sacrifice that may be the food that we're eating, the sacrificial, symbolically sacrificial act is, every aspect of that is that reality. So we repeat it every day and we say, okay, okay. But that is really the key. Because every little thing that we do should be thought of as being that reality. In essence, it's that reality. I'm offering clarified butter into the fire. So on the surface, I'm offering it to a reality that is somewhere, and I'm offering, it's a physical act, and there's also a mental act. I'm dedicated to the process of doing it. So physically I'm involved, mentally, intellectually I'm involved, psychologically, in all different ways I'm involved. Every aspect of that is supposed to be seen as Brahman. But we say that, but we don't know how to do it. That is the problem. Brahman is the offering. Okay, we say Brahman is the instrument of offering. So there's a spoon and we take the food and we offer it into the internal digestive fire, but for us it's a spoon and there's food on it. And then we have a lot of opinions about the food. Oh, this is delicious. Oh, this is terrible. Why did they cook it this way? You know, we make all sorts of judgments, which at the physical level is perfectly fine. Maybe they did something terrible and they put in 4 times as much salt and everybody's going to get into problems because of that. Yes, these are on the physical level, these are all advisable. On the mental level, these are psychological level, it's all right. But there is a level we don't usually associate with that. There's a spiritual reality here. God is present in all of this. And so you say, well, that's anthropomorphism, you're putting God into everything. But the Gita tells us God is in everything. And if we can't see God in everything, then we will probably see God in nothing. We've excluded him from the places where he is located, so where else is he going to go? So this is the thing, this is the practice, this is the thing. Whatever we're doing, really we should feel the presence of God there. Brother Lawrence, the well-known Catholic monk who lived in France in probably the 1600s or something, I don't know the exact date. The practice of the presence of God. Jesus for him was present everywhere. He said, if I pick up a straw from the ground, I do it for the love of Jesus. And in the New Testament, Jesus said, when I was sick, you came and visited me. When I was in prison, you helped me. When I was doing this, you know, whatever, wherever you helped anybody, you helped me. Wherever you did anything for anyone, you did it for me. So that is that same idea. It is present in Christianity fully. It is present in Vedanta from the very beginning. Everything, every motion is in God, by God, through God, with God. There is nothing else. Sarvam khalu idam Brahma. Everything is Brahman. How do you interpret that? We read that statement of the Upanishads. Everything is, in other words, everything is God. And then we say, well, that is impossible. How can this, you know, all these material things, how can that be God? Oh, in some theoretical way, I'm looking at it in a certain way, I should see it as God. So in other words, I have to do that psychological effort in order to see it as God. I don't, it's not actually so. It's something that I have to imagine to be so. But that's not what the Gita says. And this is so, Brahmarpanam, Brahma is in this instrument. Brahman is in everything that we do. The reality of everything that we do is that divine being. That is what we have to get through our thick skulls. That is what we have to get through. In other words, what it takes is a restructuring of our thinking processes. God is in everything. If you have to wait, you know, I do everything, yes, when I come to the shrine, I will see God in the image. I will feel that I'm offering this to God, I'm doing this, I'm meditating on a spiritual ideal, and I feel that God is within me, and I am, you know, but there's me, and then there's me thinking God is in me, and then there's God in me. All these things are there. Really, there is only God. There is nothing else. That is what the scriptures say. That is what has to be realized, and it's not so terribly difficult to realize it. We can start with one little experiment, a little prayer for something, or seeing divine reality in something, and trying to achieve that in that small way. Say there's a prayer for, there's some problem and you ask for help, you ask for divine help. That's a very common practice in many religions. Ask and ye shall receive, seek and ye shall find, knock and it shall be opened unto you. So we have to put those things into practice. Every problem that we have, or let's try with one particular problem, let's see if we get some help. I mean, this is a scientific experiment. Do we get some help? Can we achieve anything by thinking that this particular problem that I have will be solved by God? I pray for some solution to some difficulty that I don't know my way out. if you do that, and if you find that you actually are getting help that you had not expected, then the first thought will be, well, okay, it's a coincidence, that's fine. It may work, may not. It appeared to work in this case. So then you try it again. I mean, these are experiments. You can't just sit there and say, oh, I don't realize anything, I don't know, it's all hopeless, and you go about your ordinary business. That doesn't work. We have to actually make an effort. And the efforts can be made in so many ways. Praying is just one. I'm just using it as one example. Meditation is, of course, another example. But the idea is you try it. You pray for something and see if you get it or not. Okay, you didn't get it. Okay, it doesn't work. Well, let me try again. Anyway, generally what we will find is you do get an answer. And the first thing is, you get the answer is assumed to be, well, it's just a coincidence. It could have happened anyway. There was certainly a possibility it could have happened without prayer. So I did pray, I got it. Maybe it was coincidental. But we're scientific people. We want to try it again just to make sure. And we try it again. The statement that is made by the people who are quoted in the scriptures is that this does work. Not only does it work, you find that that presence of God is present, is there, not only when you want something and you want Him to accomplish something, but that presence is there all the time. That is, by trying this, one achieves this result. That slowly one becomes convinced of the idea that God is not only there when I need Him or her, but God is there anyhow. And pretty soon you begin to suspect that really that divine reality is present all the time, is always there, is always effective. Whether you're, whatever happens to be our condition, whatever happens to be our state of mind, whatever happens to occur around us, we're surrounded by the presence of divinity. We're surrounded by the presence of God. That is something we have to practice. We have to feel that. This is what the scriptures say. This is what the saints and sages say. So we try it a little and then we go about our regular business. That is not good enough. Slowly we have to begin to feel, even when we're doing our ordinary activities, that reality is the essence of what is here. The physical appearance of things is not denied in this. The intellectual complications of the mind are not denied in this, but an additional factor is added. Something, what is God? God is all ultimate sweetness, ultimate joy, ultimate Satchidananda, ultimate reality. That reality is present within us all the time, whatever else we do. And that reality is really at the forefront of our consciousness. And everything else, the things we see, the people we see, the interactions we have with others, that becomes the background. God is in the foreground of our consciousness. It's present in front of us all the time. That is what we should feel. That spiritual reality is actually present as the foreground. And this ordinary life that we consider to be so central is actually the background. We're paying too much attention to it, so we've pulled it to the foreground. That is the thing we have to undo. We have to put this ordinary reality. We're not denying it. We're not invalidating it. It's okay. It is doing its job, but let it be in the background and let the idea of God, the infinite, the eternal, the pure, the sweet, the joyful, let that be in the foreground. But what is it that causes our joy? What is it that causes our bliss or that brings meaning to our life? Not the things that we see on the outside, but the meaning, the significance of the things that we see on the outside. And where does that significance come from? From inside. And what is the deepest thing inside us? Is that spiritual reality. So the spirit is the essence, the core of the meaning of everything we see outside. We attribute the meaning ordinarily to that. The meaning in something that happens outside, we also attribute it outside. But the meaning of it is inside. And the most meaningful thing inside is our consciousness of divinity. So that is, in other words, we are putting the actual order of things, we're putting it on its head. We're looking at it in a backward way. It isn't that we're not experiencing God now. Pratibodha viditam, it says in the Upanishad, everything that we experience is really an experience of God, an experience of the infinite and the eternal. That is the statement that is made, and that is the challenge for us. Every experience is actually an experience of God. They're not two things. It isn't that there's a world out there and then there's a God in here. That would be very difficult to prove. It is that there is one reality, but we are ascribing a value to the appearance of it and not much value to the essence of it. Every experience that we have has two phases. It has an experience, I mean, it has a surface, an appearance, and it has a significance. So most of the time we put all of our significance on the appearance. So we see this world out there and we put all our significance on that. Actually, we're doing it backwards. See, the significance is what should be first, not the appearance. We put the appearance first and attach significance to it. We should look at the significance. We should look at the meaning, at the heart of every experience. And the heart of every experience is that divine reality. The experience is definitely secondary. So we have turned the matter on its head. That is our problem. So the spiritual practices an attempt to reverse that, to put the importance on where it belongs, not on where we have mistakenly placed it. And that is explained in so many scriptures. So in the Isha Upanishad, Isha Vasyamidam Sarvam, by the Lord, Isha, by the Lord, everything is to be covered. Cover everything, everything. Everything is to be clothed, is to be covered with divinity. So that is exactly the point. Everything that we see, we're clothing it with matter. We're clothing it with materiality. We're covering it with matter. Actually, it is spirit, but we're not seeing it as that. We're looking only at the surface. So, Isha Vasyam Idam Sarvam. Idam this, surround all of this. Yat kincha jagatyam jagat, whatever, yat kincha, whatever jagatyam in this jagat, in this world moves. Whatever moves into this world is to be covered with God. That means it is not saying that you should ignore what you see or ignore your experiences. See them the way they actually are. That is the advice. We should see our experiences properly. And the reality of our experiences is not the appearance of them, but the essence of them. But we judge everything by its appearance, and that is where we're doing the thing in the wrong way. We're doing the thing upside down. We should judge things by their significance, by their essence. The appearance is there, we don't deny the appearance, but that is the secondary. First see the essence. There was an interesting incident in the life of Swami Vedananda, who was one of Sri Ramakrishna's outstanding disciples. He became the president of our order after Swami Brahman lived from about 1920 to 1933 or 34. And at one point, whenever disciples came to see him or visitors came to them, first he would bow down to them deeply. And people were highly shaken by this because in the Indian context, a great spiritual luminary, disciple, direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, saluting a visitor who comes to him first is considered very inauspicious and inappropriate, and this. So they were shocked at this, and they remonstrated with the Swami. Oh, why are you doing this? You know, this is not good for us. This is unfortunate. Oh no, please don't. Let us salute you first. And he, for some time, I think he didn't say anything. Finally, he said, you know, when you come into the room, I see the divine reality that you're concentrating on, that aspect of divinity that is your Ishta. I see that first. And I salute that. I see the brilliance of that first. Then, until I salute that, I cannot see you. Once I salute that, then that abates a little, then I can see that you're there, and I can see you've come with certain questions, and I try to answer your questions. That is the proper way of seeing things. Normally we don't do that. Our struggle is to see the inner part. His struggle was to see the outer part. So, but that is the correct thing. When we see someone, the first thing we should see is the divinity. Whatever perception we have, pratibodha viditam, in every perception it is to be seen, I should see divinity. Then, if there is any reason to go, to look at the surface because there is some problem that has to be solved, all right, so I go to the surface and there's a problem and I solve it. Or try to solve it. But the first thing, I should see the essence. Then I can see the details. So normally we turn everything upside down. We put everything on its head. And so our normal reaction is not really successful for us. We find it, we struggle to see the divinity in things, but we are actually seeing the appearance of things and not their essence. So we struggle to try to see the essence, and that is what we have to do. But if we can manage to do it the other way, it'll be much better. You see, first, When you first perceive anything, see the divine reality of it. And where do you actually see it? You see it in your own heart. I mean, it isn't that necessarily the person changes in any way, or the thing that you're looking at changes. Your attitude toward it, it's all an internal thing. Your attitude is, first I feel the presence of reality. I feel the presence of God, the presence of Jesus, of Sri Ramakrishna, of Buddha. I feel that divine reality. That should kind of be at the background of every perception. That I may think about so many surface things, but at the background I should have that consciousness of the presence of divinity. That should be somewhere not very far from the surface. It may not be the surface reaction, the way I greet people and all of that, but it should not be very far below the surface. Right now we have to struggle mightily to bring up that idea, oh, God exists, I have to feel the presence of God. But it should be much more natural than that. Anyhow, this is the attitude or the thought. See, the idea is the search for happiness. Where is happiness to be found? Finally, we get to the title of this lecture. Where, at the end of the lecture, you come to the beginning. That's good. Where is this search for happiness? Where is this happiness to be found? The answer is, where is it not to be found? It is to be found everywhere. This is the first thing that we should feel. That there is only that should be that every perception is in essence that. Is in essence that divine reality, that infinity. What is it? It's Sat Chit Ananda. It is an existence. It is something inherently conscious, and it is infinite joy, infinite bliss. We should be filled with that in the sense that this should be our first perception should be that. And then in that we see things. See, instead of seeing God in our observations, in things, we should see things in God. That is in other words, God should be the first perception. And then everything else should be colored or suffused with that. That is, in other words, we should sort of turn our ordinary procedure around and first of all feel the presence of God. And then feel or see the appearance of so many things within that and their relationships, and I have this obligation and that obligation, and this I know, this I do not know, this I wish to find out. All of these things should come later, after we have seen its essence, meaning that divine reality. Anyway, it's a process, it's something, but one of the ways of starting it is to try with this idea of response to prayer. If you get any response to prayer, that is a very significant thing. That is a very important thing. Because there's no other way. In other words, if there's something that could not have been done in any other way, the response to prayer shows you that there is something that responds. There is a responder. So that is one of the ways of entering or getting into that mood and that type of approach. That is there any such reality as we're talking about now? And the idea is, if there is a response to prayer which could not have come from physical circumstances, but actually can be ascribed to the prayer itself, it begins to build our self-confidence that there is such a thing. I mean, the whole universe, there's so many different religions, and they're totally agreed about nothing, but they are, at least, they're standing on this common ground that there is a reality which interacts with humanity. There is such a thing. Now, if you look at the ordinary world, you don't have such a thing. Is not talked about, is not described. But in the spiritual firmament, so to speak, in the spiritual level, that thing is talked about, that there is a reality here which responds to prayer. That is one basic common factor in most religions. Buddhism doesn't emphasize that, but they talk about the bodhisattva. And where is the bodhisattva? It is a being that need not be on this plane, it's some other plane. There is also a relation. That bodhisattva, there is one Avalokiteshvara that hears the sounds of all beings, that listens to the world's sounds. So there is that type of idea, is there also, even in Buddhism, though they don't necessarily acknowledge the type of divinity that some other religions acknowledge. So, but this point of response to prayer is like an entrance into that realm. Oh, there is such a reality. There is actually a response that this divinity, this God, this whatever you call it, is not just something that is totally theoretical. It's an invention of the priests and of the swamis and of the rabbis and all, and that really it doesn't really exist. No, this is a way of establishing the reality of that. And from then on, there's no limit to how it can be developed. Until finally, I mean, that the Upanishads tell us, Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahma, all of this is Brahman. And Aham Brahmasmi, and that inner reality within me is also that. Tattvamasi, that same thing is present in all of you, that is Tattvamasi. So many ways it has been stated. Anyway, it is an experiment we should all perform.